This is evident in the fall of the east penthouse, supported by column number 80. This precedes global collapse, but what happens next is not so easily explained. The building does not fall over in the direction of the gouging damage, and it does not fall over in the direction of the failed column beneath the east penthouse. Now, it is one thing to dispute the controlled demolition hypothesis. It is another to pretend that these pictures do not suggest it at all. Shot at about 9 p.m. on September 11th. According to the FEMA report, the debris field radius was approximately 70 feet. The U.S. Post Office is on the left, also known as the Federal Office Building.
Holy shit.
World Trade Center 7 stopped at the sidewalk along the post office. Yet the post office suffered very little damage. It was less than half the height of Building 7, which was 570 feet tall. You can see Building 5 still burning in the distance.
My argument is it needs to be investigated. There is another hypothesis here, staring us in the face, of explosive demolition. And okay, you have the hypothesis of fire, but the official reports don't analyze this other possibility of explosive demolition. That is strange. Scientifically, I say it's a viable hypothesis. They look at just the one, and I'm saying good science requires us to consider other hypotheses, in particular the explosive demolition hypothesis. Let's study it out. Let's debate it scientifically. Let's put it on the table, for heaven's sakes. There's a lot at stake here to understand what caused the collapse of these buildings. We should be able to discuss it dispassionately as scientists. It's hard to do. But we should be able to do that.
Coming up, were pre-positioned explosives behind the collapse of the Twin Towers on 9/11? We'll talk to a BYU University professor who says Muslims probably not to blame for bringing down the buildings after all, when the situation returns.
Tucker Carlson, one of his associates, emailed me early in the day. This was a Monday, I remember, and asked me what would I like to show. And I said, well, in particular, I wanted to show this video clip which shows the collapse of Building 7. We've talked a lot about that, and it's what I wanted to discuss. The building collapsed about 5:21 p.m. on the afternoon of September 11th, 2001. But since then, it has not been shown on the media that I know of. The towers, yes, over and over and over, and it's the Muslim hijackers that brought down over and over, we're told that. But Building 7, no. So I asked if them to show this actual collapse and some photos of Building 7, you know, before especially, so you could see what it looked like. This huge 47-story tower or skyscraper. Now, during the interview, I could not see what everybody else saw. I only had a camera pointing at me, so I had to ask Tucker, Well, let's look at the collapse of Building 7. Have you shown it yet? I asked him that 2 or 3 times, and finally said, no, we're not showing that clip. And I said, well, what are we going to discuss then? Let's talk about the molten metal. Okay. And I did, then proceed to talk about the molten metal. But he would not show the collapse of that. Now, of course, he didn't explain why. He just didn't show the collapse of Building 7. But that was a big surprise to me, because that was what I had asked them. They asked me, what do you want to show? This is it. And then let's look at the collapse of that building. I've looked at the official reports by FEMA and so on regarding the collapse of these buildings.
Right.
I'd like to look at the collapse of Building 7 in just a minute. It was not even hit by a jet,
okay,
so we should look at that
one. The 2 towers, the explanation has been that the fire inside was so intense that it weakened the structural steel and that each floor collapsed down upon the next in a pancake fashion, and they imploded in on themselves. Is that essentially, I think, what people think? Yeah, that's basically it, yeah. And so what I've done is to analyze these reports. But I would like to do a little experiment with you, Tucker, if I could. I sent out a video clip of the collapse of Building 7, because most people haven't actually seen that one, and that's the crux of the argument that I'm presenting. Okay, sum up very quickly the argument for us. You believe there were explosives in the buildings planted by someone, detonated.
Well, yeah.
Is that correct?
In other words, the hypothesis to be tested is there's 2 hypotheses here. One is fire and damage caused all 3 buildings to collapse.
Okay.
The other is that explosives in the buildings may have caused the collapse. And so then we analyze and see which fits the data better. And I've done that in my 25-page paper. I'm not going to let you off the hook. I really want to do this experiment with you to look at the collapse of Building 7. We don't have a lot of time for experiments, Professor, but if you could just give us one thing to hold on to. How you make these claims, or appear to make these claims. Do you have any evidence that there were bombs in the building? Sure. Let's start with the collapse of Building 7. Can you roll the video clip that I sent to you?
Okay, I'm not sure if we can, but to specify, that is World Trade Center building number 7.
Let's try it.
Smaller than the other 2, was not hit by a plane, of course, yet it collapsed.
Right, it's 47 stories.
That's right.
24 steel columns in the center.
Right.
Trusses asymmetrically supported. Now, I can't see what you're seeing, so are you rolling that?
No, we just see the building.
Although the September 11th attacks were almost 5 years ago and the 9/11 Commission report has been released for some time now, some folks are still asking questions about what happened that day. A Zogby poll commissioned just last month by 911truth.org found that a whopping 42% of Americans think the government and the 9/11 Commission are covering something up.
As far as I'm aware, the only show to play a clip of Building 7 collapsing was Scarborough Country. After what happened on MSNBC's Tucker Carlson show, I asked them to guarantee that they would play the clip. They agreed to do so only after the producer obtained approval from the vice president of all programming at NBC. A month later, CNN Headline News' Glenn Beck show refused to play a clip of Building 7. The decision to play the clip has to come from the very top.
Why won't the media show World Trade Center 7? Why won't the media show World Trade Center 7? Why won't the media show World Trade Center 7? The 9/11 family members who did not accept the victim compensation money continued to seek answers through the judicial system.
I respect the law very much, and I think the rights of the ordinary citizen are extremely important and should not be simply trampled on and forgotten because of the size of the event, and that's what I feel like is happening. We have a civil justice system that should be in place for me to get answers that I need.